It's another Monday and another album review from JoeLumb. This week I review another Bon Jovi record, this time Keep the Faith from 1992. As always, when you're done, you can subscribe to my channel, click the like button if you like this video, and you can watch past reviews in a playlist, which is in the description box. It is now time to go to work. The band went on hiatus following the end of their tour in support of their last release, New Jersey, episode 25 of my album review series. Go check that out. During their time away from each other, Jon Bon Jovi wrote the entire soundtrack for the movie Young Guns 2. It was his first solo outing, and had a hit single with Blaze of Glory. It was Jon's first solo single, and it went to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, as well as the mainstream rock tracks in 1990. Richie Sambora put out his debut disc, Stranger in This Town, a year later. By this time, Jon fired his longtime manager, Doc McGee, and created Bon Jovi Management. Jon Bon Jovi himself decided to take on a larger role and more responsibilities within the band. By October of 1991, Jon, Richie, David Bryan, Alec John Such, and Tico Torres went to the Caribbean islands of St. Thomas to discuss plans for their future. If there were internal problems, they would be settled and ready for a comeback. From January to August of 1992, Bon Jovi began writing and recording what would become Keep the Faith at Little Mountain Studios in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Originally, Bon Jovi approached producer Bruce Fairbairn about producing the new record, but he was too busy with producing Aerosmith's Get a Grip, so they turned to Bob Rock, who had just got done producing Metallica's commercially successful Black Album. That review is coming real soon, so be patient, people. A lot of the recording was done in Vancouver, although a number of tracks and overdubs were done in Los Angeles. In an interview in 2007, while discussing Keep the Faith, Jon Bon Jovi noted, "When we got back together in a room in Vancouver, we closed the door and ignored what had happened to our genre of music. We'd been kicked in the teeth by Nirvana. We didn't pay attention to that. We got rid of the cliches, wrote some socially conscious lyrics, and got a haircut. I didn't do a grunge thing, I didn't do a rap thing, but I knew I couldn't rewrite Living on a Prayer again. So I didn't try, and it paid off." Of the 30 songs written for the album, a couple were co-written by David Bryan and a couple by Desmond Child, the rest being Jon Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora compositions, and by Bon Jovi himself. 14 songs made it to the final album. Jon Bon Jovi wrote half of the album's songs alone. Before the band reunited in the studio, Bon Jovi spent the summer of 1991 in Reclusive, riding his motorcycle in places like Arizona, gaining experience that inspired him to write songs like Dry Country and Bed of Roses. He later commented it would never have been possible to write songs like Bed of Roses or Dry Country 5 years ago. Here we go with the track listing. I Believe, written by Jon Bon Jovi, clocks in at 5:48. Keep the Faith, written by Jon Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora, and Desmond Child, clocks in at 5:46. Another song written by Jon, Richie, and Desmond, called I'll Sleep When I'm Dead, clocks in at 4:42. In His Arms, written by Bon Jovi, Sambora, and David Bryan, clocks in at 5:19. Bed of Roses, written by Jon Bon Jovi, clocks in at 6:33. If I Was Your Mother, written by Jon and Richie, clocks in at 4:27. Dry Country, written by Jon Bon Jovi, clocks in at 9:51, the longest song on the record. Woman in Love, written by Jon Bon Jovi, clocks in at 3:48. Fear, written by Jon Bon Jovi, clocks in at 3:06. I Want You, written by Jon Bon Jovi, clocks in at 5:36. Blame It on the Love of Rock and Roll, written by Jon and Richie, clocks in at 4:24. And another song written by Jon and Richie, called A Little Bit of Soul, clocks in at 5:44. On a Japanese and European bonus track edition, Jon and Richie wrote a song called Save a Prayer, which clocks in at 5:57. On the Australian bonus tracks edition, it was Save a Prayer and a song called Starting All Over Again, written by John Ritchie and Desmond, clocks in at 3:47. Keep the Faith is the fifth studio record from Bon Jovi, released on November 3rd, 1992 by Mercury Records. It is the last Bon Jovi album to feature all five original band members, as bassist Alec John Such was dismissed from the band in 1994. Though it was not his last release with the band, it's the first Bon Jovi album to be not produced by either Lance Quinn or Bruce Fairbairn. The album was produced by Bob Rock and was recorded at Little Mountain Sound Studios in Vancouver, BC. Keep the Faith marked a change to a more serious interpretation of the band's pop metal groove. The music was changing at that time, so I can understand it made a little sense to them. It is also Bon Jovi's longest album to date, clocking at 66 minutes. That's 1 hour and 6 minutes. Keep the Faith peaked at number 5 on the Billboard 200 charts and was certified double platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America, RIAA. The album produced several hits for the band, including Keep the Faith, Bed of Roses, and In These Arms. To promote the album, Bon Jovi returned to their roots, playing a few dates at a small clubs in New Jersey where they had started their career. The band appeared on MTV Unplugged, a different show from other episodes of MTV Unplugged series, capturing Bon Jovi in an intimate in-the-round experience. Performing acoustic and electric renditions of their classic hits and new material from Keep the Faith, the concert was released commercially in 1993 as Keep the Faith, An Evening with Bon Jovi. In the United States, Keep the Faith debuted at number 5 on the Billboard 200 top albums in November of 92, while peaking at number 1 in the UK and Australia. 6 singles were released from the album between November of 92 and April of 94, with 4 singles issued in the States, while the 2 others released only outside the US. The first single, Keep the Faith, was released on October 7th, 1992, a month before the album's release. On the Billboard Hot 100, it reached number 29, but it topped the Billboard mainstream rock tracks. Bed of Roses was the second single, released in January of 93. It reached number 10 on the Hot 100, where it reached number 2 in Canada, number 10 in Australia and Germany. In These Arms reached number 6 in Canada, number 9 in the UK, and number 10 in Australia and Ireland. It was also a top 40 hit in the US Billboard Hot 100. I'll Sleep When I'm Dead, released in July of 93, reached number 17 in the UK. I Believe was released on September 20th, reaching number 11 on the UK singles chart in October. And on March 7th, 1994, the album's last single, Dry Country, was released. It reached number 9 on the UK singles charts. The overall rating for this album happens to be a 70 out of 100. While I appreciate the fact that they managed to change their musical style and get away from all the pop metal stuff they did on Slippery in New Jersey, they went to more of a soft rock kind of vibe in the 90s and beyond that. I do like the singles, the title track, I'll Sleep When I'm Dead, In These Arms, and Bed of Roses. The underrated tracks were I Believe in Dry Country and If I Was Your Mother and Blame It on the Love of Rock and Roll and A Little Bit of Soul. Those were all underrated tracks in my opinion. This has been JoeLumb's album review for this Monday.
Don't you believe it?